You know, I never thought I would one day end up in a toxic, abusive relationship. Doesn't matter how much I get hurt, I forgive, always. Because how could I live without them? It is clear they are in the position of power. Every time I think I've moved on, I realize I'm being kept hostage in this relationship. I keep coming back. They make me come back. Their name is the Hero of Ages. The Hero of Ages is the third installment of the Mistborn series, one that I have been praising a lot on this channel, and outside of it, everywhere actually. The first time I read it was quite the show, as I ended up laying on the floor like a dried out starfish, bawling my eyes out as if all my loved ones died at once. Which is kind of the case, honestly. I did lose all my loves and my best friends, as fictional they may be, because yes, spoiler, a lot of people die in this book. It is not only the end of a trilogy, this is the end of an era, and quite the end of me. Still, I braced myself and dived right back in for this video that was long overdue. And you know what's really funny? Nothing! This book hops from tragedy to tragedy, and I am not amused. How can I even make fun of it? It literally starts with the line, Marsh struggled to kill himself. Need I say more? I mean, I guess. Otherwise, this video would be way too short, and this is not a kind of disappointment I strive to be. Starting by this because I don't really have much to say, they're great snippets of what the Hero of Ages learns, especially about hemorrhagy. But I listened to the graphic audiobook for my reread, which I just realized might be controversial since, from what I gather at least, most of the Cosmere community pledges allegiance to Michael Kramer and Kate Reedon. Which is great, I pledge allegiance too, but I do like the full cast in the graphic audio productions, as well as the addition of music and sound effects. That being said, I think graphic audio messed up because the pre-chapters immediately give away the identity of the Hero of Ages, something that's supposed to be a major plot twist. I mean, it makes it so obvious that I'm actually doubting myself. Can somebody confirm to me that these pre-chapters were voiced by you-know-who's actor? Maybe I hear them because I did this reread knowing who the hero was, but I'm pretty sure this is not the case, so that's an oopsie. The world is dying. Yes, ours, but in a similar fashion, Scadrial too. Ashfalls are no longer just a quirky little thing that the planet occasionally does to try and catch your attention. No, they are now constant. There's snow going on too, I believe, and volcanoes. It is all very odd, but what's even weirder is the mist. The mist used to be a normal phenomenon around here. Now, it is murderous. It makes people sick, it kills them, but not all of them. You see, the mist is hostile to some and is peaceful to others. Take Finn, for instance, and Human, that Collis guy, remember? Yeah, the mist runs away from both of them. What do they have in common? Was this man ever happy? Cause oh my word, it is not getting any better for him in this one. We don't see Marsh a lot throughout the series, always overshadowed by his brother, but he's much more present in this book, and for a good reason. He's the enemy's favorite pawn. How so? Well, for our lesson of the day, let me introduce you to the great magic art known as hemorrhagy. I mean, I say it's known, but this is not very true. Hemorrhagy is a foreign concept to the masses, as the Lord Ruler kept it for himself to serve his personal plans, but also because it is too dangerous for anyone to have access to it. Marsh had the privilege of learning all about it, violently so, hence why I'm letting him give you the fundamentals of this fine art. Also because, well, look at him.
Hey, this is Marsh. I will teach you hemorrhagy basics, so crank up your tinned ears. 1. Hemorrhagy is the art of transferring one's allomantic powers to another individual through spikes. 2. What metal is used for the spike, and where it is placed is important. 3. Inquisitors, Colossus and Chandra are all the product of hemorrhagy. 4. Hemalurgic spikes are Ruin's way of interfering.
Thank you, Marsh. You can go back to pulling your hair out. I mean, gouging your eyes out. I mean, extracting your spikes. I mean, the last point is a key information because it will ultimately be Ruin's demise. Ruin's ruin, if you will. Thanks. I know I'm funny. As of now, and for the longest time, Marsh is a puppet in God's hands. Controlled 99% of the time, he can't communicate with his friends even when meeting them. And he's forced to practice illegal hemalurgy, wink wink, namely on Penrod, the very guy at the head of Luthadel while Elend is away, wink wink again. Congrats Marsh, you are one very unlucky man. I know this because I, too, have a ruin in my head whispering unpleasant things to me. Maybe these pills of mine are a small piece of preservation. Listen, I try to comfort myself as best I can. And hey, I don't know how the hell you'd keep on living after all he's been through, but justice for Marsh. We need to talk about the brother, don't we? Mainly because even in death, he's still going strong and is still more popular than Marsh. This dude has a whole religion to his name, the Church of the Survivor. Although I'm more of a Church of the Vin kind of girl myself, I've got to admit, that is pretty damn cool. Jokes aside, I love the symbolism surrounding Kelsier. We all know he's got quite the ego, but I don't believe he painted himself as a divinity to gratify that ego, not fully at least. I think it's amazing how he managed to bring hope to people even after failing himself. Look at the state of the world. Hope is the last thing people have left. It keeps them going. Giving into despair would truly mean the end. I'm gonna ruin this moment now by asking, Danganronpa, anybody?
Don't lose hope now!
You may not feel the same about him, but that's the thing with Kelsier. He's divisive even in the story itself. Some will say, he wasn't just a man, he was bigger than that. And others will claim, he was completely insane, you know? Both statements are true, and that's the beauty of it. The title, The Hero of Ages, implies there is only one hero, but I could name you a bunch, one of them being our dear Spook. And what a perfect time to be talking about him. It is spooky season after all. Spook used to be one of those extras you see in movies. Easily replaceable, so forgettable. I know, this is harsh, but he says it himself. So seeing him suddenly standing at the front of the stage was very surprising, and pleasantly so. Spook is sent to Urto, where the situation is, let's see, catastrophic. There's this guy, what's his name? Not important. I'll call him the Red Baddie. The Red Baddie, under the pretense of following Kelsier's legacy, is leading a rebellion taken to the extreme where he gets to exterminate the nobles the way the Sky used to be brutalized. Oh, how the turns have tabled. My man, as a Ska in my own world, I kinda see where you're coming from, but at the same time, I don't think you understand Kelsier, or his principles, or his values, or his goals, or anything he's worked for. Just leave the Church of the Survivor. You are embarrassing yourself. And this isn't his only offense. Red Baddie also insults Elend, says he's a bad emperor, that he's worse than the Lord Ruler, just like all those haters do with their crayon eater opinion. This is a joke. No need to send me your Kalas army. I can control them anyway. So this is Spook's nemesis. But no worries. Spook is now a tin addict, meaning he's walking around with overly enhanced senses. You know, I often joke about how, oh, I sure could use some more tin. Look at me, I'm so blind. Ha ha ha. But I realize now that's an utter lie. I can barely stand daylight as it is, and the TV in the next room is already too loud. Don't give me any tin. Do you want me to die? Much like when I heard Spook's backstory. Holy crap, does it hurt? I'm very sensitive to these stories of abuse and neglect. Take Finn's backstory for instance, or hell, even Elend's. And well, left in unborn. I've been abandoned. Excuse me, I'll be back. You know who else is sad? The lady with the sad eyes. Beldre, Spook's new love interest. You would think that I, a hopeless fangirl, would be squealing in joy right now, but I'm sorry, I really don't care. I guess we can move on now. Look, Spook is the local hero now. Red Baddie is burning down homes and the rich folk with them. Spook says no. He sprints right into the fire and saves this child, granting him the title of Lord of the Flames. Who's forgettable now, huh? Not Spooky. really. And not Kelsier either. Again, he's everywhere. He appears to Spook like a ghost. For some reason, I didn't think that was suspicious at all. Even when Kelsier asks Spook to kill Beldre to spike her so he can get her coin shot abilities.
Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious.
This whole time, he insisted on Spook's weakness. He kept reminding him of his insecurities while promising him power, but that's not like Kelsier. Remember when he was training Vin? He didn't go, "Look at you, so small and insignificant. Do you want to stay this weak forever? No? Then jump off this cliff, you little I mean, it was pretty close, but now that I'm a little less of a dum-dum, I genuinely wonder how I didn't make the connection with Ruin the first time around. Spook was mysteriously granted pewter powers. Wait, does that make him the first Twinborn ever? Not for long. He ends up losing the power when he takes out the metal that was stuck in his body. You would think that with his insane sensing powers, he would sense a whole spike in his freaking chest, but no! He forgot about it. How do you forget a piece of— You know what? I understand. All you could see with your tin eye butt was Beldre. I can't even blame him. I mean, look at her. I promise I won't squeal in your ears this time yet. Vin has more or less come to terms with who she is. You love to see it. Although she seems to feel quite powerless given the situation and guilty for not being able to fix it. But Vin, it's alright. Things take time. Saving the world certainly does. I mean, look at me. Conquering the world one video at a time. Writing one sentence of script in the span of 2 hours. It is fine, we all struggle sometimes. Unless you're Brandon Sanderson. In 2 hours, you don't write one sentence. You write one book. Transition! I love that Vin gets a pet every once in a while. First one being Elend. No, sorry, I'm kidding. I more meant TenSoon, the Conjurer in book 2, and Human, the Koloss in book 3. The fact that a Koloss, a massive blue, deformed beast, refers to themselves as a human is puzzling, to say the least. And Vin insists, "Hey, look at you. Now, look at me. Not so human now, are we?" This is until the day Human snatches a metal spike from one of his peers, and Vin understands what the Koloss are. Koloss were, once upon a time, human. Human is human! Vin does ask Human, "How do you guys reproduce?" And yeah, no, you just take someone and you play Spike Darks with them and I don't know, ask the Lord Ruler. I'm sure he has a manual with the full instructions. Transition! Remember that informant that Vin talks to? Slow Swift. Interesting name. Self-proclaimed storyteller. An alarm went off in my head. I was like, "Aha! Got you! You are Hoid in disguise!" What did I call it before? Ah yes, the Hoid paranoid. This was definitely a case of it. Can you blame me? He insisted so much on telling her a story. This is such a Hoid thing to do. And well, turns out I was right. Hoid is around. I simply got the wrong target. He's actually the other informant Vin was meant to meet, but didn't meet because she had the feeling she shouldn't. This is hilarious. Allergic to Hoid? Clever girl. Transition! Vin, of all people, suggests we go to a ball. Not just any ball. Yeoman's Ball in Phaedrix City. The last place with a secret cache that could potentially be hiding the last amount of ATM ever existing. So we go to the party, Elend in his majestic emperor attire, and Vin in her black and silver gown. So iconic. I actually considered getting married in a black gown because of this. So Vin grew into someone she likes, but she sometimes still has to be someone she doesn't like. At this ball, she plays the perfect, despicable, all-powerful noblewoman, bringing down this other girl. She is so mean to her. Seeing Vin and Elend both force themselves to be a person they don't necessarily want to be, but have to be, is a bit saddening to me. Makes me think of how we all do this, playing a role given the societal crap fest we're in. But anyway, this woman is despicable and is a cousin of the Ilarials, so I don't care. Bully her some more. Give her some
emotional damage.
The damage isn't only emotional, we're also throwing hands tonight. Vin knocks out a couple women who were following her at the party. I love that. So girl boss. Very slay. And she sneaks into the building to find the secret cache. We want that ATM. Unfortunately, she gets ambushed and captured in that cave. Not so slay. She has friends in there though, like Reen, her brother. Reen appears to Vin the same way Kelsier appears to Spook. And to follow the same pattern, I did a real realize how similar these occurrences were, and therefore didn't recognize Ruin right away. I was a Cosmere newbie. I didn't know any better. Her only other visitor is Yo-Man. I'm so sorry. Yeoman, ex-obligator, current Phaedrix king, who believes the Lord Ruler is still alive, and Vin believes Yeoman has the last of the Lord Ruler's atium. Both are wrong, except Yeoman is wronger because he's simply delusional. Even Marsh invites himself to this place to get the atium for Ruin, except there is no atium, not here at least. And why would a god want something with no value anyway? Ask Ruin, but later. Vin eventually escapes and finds Elend, but she soon needs to leave again. Vin is Vin, so it hardly ever registers that she could potentially die at any moment. But the moment she parted with Elend, I knew it was not a "bye honey, gonna save the world real quick, I'll be back home in no time." No, it was a farewell. Did you hear it? Can you hear my heart break? Let's take a look at the husband. What kind of monsters are we? The kind we have to be. This, in my opinion, is the best representation of Elend in this book, because between securing cities and getting resources left and right, he doesn't appear as the nicest guy around. But throughout the book, he's constantly torn by having to do bad things for the greater good, like making people stand in the mist. And that, to me, speaks volumes on the kind of person he is. And hey, in Elend's defense, somebody has to keep things under control, unless we want the mess in Urto, for instance, to spread to the entire empire. I do miss Final Empire Elend. He was charming and innocent, and he's become quite grim after gaining his Mistborn powers, but I also understand the need to make him more confident and reliable as a character. Plus, I love Elend's growth and his journey in figuring out the balance between whom we wish to be and whom we need to be. And I don't care if you, Elend, think you're a bad man, because I will not tolerate such heresy in my house. I'm just kidding. I have no house. Can I make a side note here to say I really like Elend's voice? It makes me melt for some reason. Listen, I'm weak. Am I the only one falling in love with voices? I'm currently listening to Sandman on Audible, full cast performance, and Dream's voice? Don't wake me up, let me dream forever. Also, Orpheus singing, oh god! Back to business. We're storming Yeoman's ball to have a diplomatic exchange. It's his fault, he didn't want to talk to us. How dare? Yeoman's not listening, but whatever. We have an amazing scene here.
Elend reached into his pocket and pulled out a book.
Wait, book? Elend? I swear, this guy.
Oh, would you please just put the book away?
Elend, my dear, I know it must have been a while since you could peacefully grab a book, nerd. And I understand this irresistible urge to flip tons of pages, nerd. But you're currently dancing with your stunning wife for the first time. Can't you, I don't know, focus on that for a second? I mean, hell, boy.
Hell, boy.
Hell, boy. I'm still a big fan of Vin and Elend as a couple, and I know not enough romance. We don't care about romance. Early Sanderson romance, bad. Buh. I can't explain it. I just think they're cute. They have this whole conversation about trust, and as someone who's lost most of her ability to trust, it touches my soul. And what about the homicidal hat trick?
You've managed, in our short 3 years together, to kill not only my god, but my father, my brother, and my fiancé. That's kind of like a homicidal hat trick.
She got rid of the toxic people in your life. You should thank her.
Vin just rolled her eyes.
For this reason, you should also be careful who you allow in your life, Elend. What are you befriending the murderous mist for? Wanna get stabbed again? Look, the mist spirit is trying to communicate. I will kill you. Death. Charming. But Elend is smart. He makes the spirit wait for yes and asks him a bunch of questions. What Elend doesn't know is that he's talking to preservation. Isn't this funny? Elend, the man in white, Vin, the woman in black, Elend and preservation, Vin and ruin? Anyway, Dr. Elend solves the mystery of the mist sickness. The mist, preservation's power, is snapping people. It reveals to them their elementic powers. The world might be dying. Its gods might have to die with it. Preservation might already be dead, but the people are rising. Rashek would be shaken right now. You know what? Let's talk about the Lord Ruler. He messed up a lot. And I mean, how can you not mess up when you steal a power greater than you could ever imagine? A power that is not yours and should never be yours. Granted, Elend was not the hero either. Ruin just put that idea in everybody's head. But I do wonder what the world would have been like if he was the one to hold the well's power. Rashek destroyed the planet. He had to create mist and ash to limit the damage as if he were putting a band-aid on a lethal wound. He enslaved a group of people and erased another. He deformed human beings to create his own little army, not knowing he was crafting the perfect pawns for ruin. He suppressed any technological progress, any notion of the Hero of Ages or the Well of Ascension, even the whole terrorist culture and religion. Why? Because ignorance is power. And yes, that same power is what allowed him to keep everything under control for 1,000 years, which is honestly quite impressive. So I guess you could defend him saying that he was the lesser evil, that it's partly thanks to him that ruin was contained for so long. But it doesn't erase all the awful things he's done for centuries. It might be a little hypocritical of me to defend Elend for pushing people into the mist for the greater good, while blaming Rashek for doing basically the same thing, sacrificing a group of people for the greater good. But I would argue that the circumstances and the scale of things were different, and all I'm saying is, after securing his position as the Lord Ruler, Rashek didn't have to be such a tyrant. It's all very complicated, and I do not wish to give myself a headache. You can debate and argue in the comments. I'll be here with some popcorn. Some of you called me out for not mentioning TenSoon in my previous Mistborn reviews, and you were right to do so. I realized my mistake and I am now correcting it, before I am taken to Conjure Jail, because you can very easily end up there, right, TenSoon? I just love how they organized this whole trial thing, supposedly to give TenSoon a chance to defend himself for his crimes. Remember? Murdering Orasur, a fellow conjurer, and taking his place, all for Zane, a human? TenSoon, dearest third generation replica, you know we only kill humans. We don't kill each other. They really didn't listen to a word he said. They just threw him in a cell, as if that would stop him. Because there's one thing that, namely, the first generation won't understand. The Lord Ruler is dead. He's gone. He's done for. He's dead. Whatever contract you had with him doesn't apply anymore, but yes, you're right. Keep on blindly following the very tyrant that took away your humanity. Oh, what's that? The Lord Ruler gave you blessings. After making mist race out of terrorist people? How generous of him. I'm just glad there's Milan and her fancy skeleton around. She helps TenSoon as best she can. And TenSoon is one smart cookie. He sneakily makes the first generation give him back his dog body. Whoa, how distasteful, how disgraceful, how insulting. Idiots. Stronger now, TenSoon goes to find Vin. He even calls her the mother. Love how they became besties. And TenSoon still feels bad for associating with a human and betraying his kind, but TenSoon, I understand your purposes, and I still believe you're the goodest boy. This is the first time I dedicate a moment to this man, and I'm doing so because behind his aloofness and wine addiction, he's a good friend. It was very endearing the way he tried to comfort Sazed. And I agree with him. Responsibilities suck. You're a good lad, Breezy. Ew, I hated saying that. Don't be cringe, Ariane. Actually, I do wonder whether I would like someone like Ariane in real life. Everything about her, on the outside at least, tells me I'd probably avoid her. As far as book Ariane goes, yeah, I like her. I think she's delightful. Even Seth grew on me. Swearing is not something interesting to say. That's your own damned opinion. Swearing is cathartic. It makes for colorful language. It can even be used as punctuation. I mean, damn. It wasn't worth fighting because nothing meant anything. Okay, here we go. I don't even know where to start. All I can say is Sazed's storyline is heartbreaking. His faith crisis, his depression, his heartache and dealing with loss. I'm sure it touched a lot of people. It spoke to me too, and it still does to some extent. I managed to work out some things in my life, woohoo! But my man Sazed is suffering. Sazed describes the pain of a faith that betrayed him, which is a most accurate way to put it. Everyone's like, you're not gonna tell me about your religions? Sazed will mention them because because he doesn't believe in them anymore. He's a keeper. This is incredibly sad. What's even worse is his grief. Sazed completely lost his way after losing Tindwyl. This is the part I get the most. You don't simply move on after the death of a loved one. You don't simply get over it. I believe you never do. You just learn to live with the pain. So you can imagine how hard it is for Sazed to keep fighting against this all-powerful, invisible foe, but he still does. As desperate as he feels, he keeps fighting. Sazed goes to the homeland to have a little talk with the first generation of Kandras who, again, were friends with Rashek, the same friends he offered immortality to in exchange of their Feruchemy so that, you know, they'd never be able to fight back. And Sazed makes a capital discovery. One information that we're after this whole book. The atium is here, hidden away in the homeland, because Ati can't read. Who's Ati, you're asking? Why, our nemesis. And he wants his atium, because it's his body and power. Too bad for Ati ruin. Atium is a consumable resource. Anyway, Sazed gets him present. Why? Because the first generation kinda mentions to him the resolution, which is kinda the extermination of the entire Kandra species. I thought these people were supposed to be intelligent mist wraith. Some of them are. TenSoon and Milan free Sazed. I will end this part by asking, who is Trell? Don't answer that. I just vaguely remember this name being thrown around in Era 2, and I now realize it was already mentioned in Era 1. Curiouser and curiouser. I guess everybody's now sick of playing 4D chess with each other because the day has come. The end of the world is here. It's hard to pinpoint the exact moment it starts because everything's happening at the same time, but one thing's for sure, no more mind games. We're throwing hands. Vin is facing 13 Inquisitors, all on her own. Terrifying. But wait till you see the final boss, Marsh. Vin runs out of medals at the worst moment possible, and Marsh tortures her. It was so hard to listen to this scene with all the sound effects. Vin crying was already too much, but I swear every time Marsh broke one of Vin's bones, my bones had chills. Vin is on the brink of death, and I'm screeching in fear when Marsh pulls on her earring, freeing her of the one tiny hold Ruin had on her, and the mist become her friend again. Sounds familiar? This is exactly what happened when Vin faced the Lord Ruler. This is why she could suddenly draw from the power of the mist, so preservation, and kill Rashek, something that seemed like a Deus Ex Machina back in the Final Empire. Anyway, Vin obliterates every single Inquisitor. She pulls out Marsh's spikes, just what friends do on a sunny afternoon, and then, quote, Vin vanished, end quote. I vividly remember reading this line the first time. I was in a bus, and I was so puzzled. I just kind of froze. For a long time, apparently, because I missed my stop, and it took me a while to even notice. But hey, don't worry about that yet, because the Kolos siege on Phaedric City breaks loose, and suddenly there's this big battlefield on Elend's side. And we're winning, because we're consuming all of the secret stash of atium. We're OP. And guess what? I know I always call Vin my goddess, but right now, Vin is literally a goddess. She vanished because she ascended. Let's calm down. This isn't over yet. The battle keeps going, and Vin blesses Elend with her divine touch, and fireworks! He's extra strong until Ruin strikes back and kills Elend through Marsh. Right before the atium ran out. Right before Ruin was left completely powerless. Elend's head dropped and my heart dropped, but at least we still have Vin left, right? No. I don't know how I managed to believe that she would just come back down from the sky and keep on living like she didn't just wrestle with a god. I was a baby Bransan fan. I knew nothing. Do you guys think Earth's hero of ages is around? Are they even born yet? We need them right now. This is getting bad. I don't want to be waiting 1,000 years. Lucky for Scadrial, something incredible is about to happen. Sazed gets out of the homeland hole and finds Vin's body beside Elend's. I just take 1 second to appreciate the scene. It's beautiful. Oh, and Ati is here too. Because he lost his body and Vin finished him off. Slay. But let's not lose our focus. The hero has finally appeared. Now tell me, how could I suspect everybody, and I mean everybody, to be the hero of ages except the very person that's cut for it? Sazed had it all. Knowledge, wisdom, faith, kindness, generosity, willing to learn and make things better for everybody. Not to mention, he perfectly fit every single statement the prophecies made on the hero. The religions he preached weren't a lie. Rather, they all had some truth in them. So, armed with his braces, he absorbs the powers of both ruin and preservation. And instead of having them stay opposing forces, Sazed puts them together to become harmony. Harmony that restores the world and heals it. Unite! I'm sorry, I'm tearing up a little bit. We win! I'm glad the best god was, elected. So Sazed is God, Vin and Elend are frolicking in the beyond, Ham finds his family, Breeze has Ariane, Spook has Beldre and becomes a Mistborn, and Marsh... where's Marsh? I'm just going to assume he ran off to the sunset. With TenSoon, maybe? Actually, this is very sad. The real tragedy is that TenSoon never got to meet Vin again, but it's alright. Off to the sunset, all of you. You got a normal son now. So there you have it, ganchos. A beautiful yet somewhat heartbreaking ending. An event that will go down in history as the Catacendre, a new world reborn. Now everything's gonna be alright. Finally. It took me longer than it should have to finish rereading the book, and I firmly believe it's because I was scared of reaching the end. Like I said, my first read was rough. To whoever it might concern, I'm fine. Maybe. I don't know if it's denial speaking, but I love this ending. As I've mentioned before on this channel, I read Mistborn when I needed it the most. I was extremely lucky to have the Final Empire in my hands at that time because it brought me great comfort, and most importantly, it gave me hope. Hope is a very limited resource that I struggle to find, so I tend to turn to Mistborn and the Cosmere whenever I need it. So these books will always have a very special place in my heart. Look forward to Era 2. New book is coming this November, but I still have to reread the 3 previous books and I already have so many reviews scheduled before that. So we'll see how much time it'll take me to finally get to the Lost Metal. Before we part, I would like to thank you all. I was so busy that for many days I didn't even notice that we hit 2,000 subscribers. I know it's nothing by YouTube standards, but to me, this is insane, so thank you. By the way, if you are not subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? You definitely should do it. And ring the bell and leave a comment and share the video. I mean, look at this. What is this? Are you not ashamed of yourselves? Many thanks to all of you leaving me sweet messages and comments, although I'm terrible at replying. I want you to know that you never go unnoticed and that you are always appreciated. I will make a video answering all of you, so stay tuned. Now, excuse me, I'll be spending an indecent amount of time on Dead by Daylight if anyone's looking for me. Responsibilities? Not today. And this is why, as an endnote, I will say, I am, fortunately, not the hero of ages. Get wrecked, haha!
Until it shows its fortune as the